Okay, right, we're live. So we're waiting on anyone that's here for Josh. You're going to be waiting a few minutes. He's running half an hour late. There's Andre. Andrew's back.
Let's see if this works better.
Yeah, it already is. Oh, you're frozen again there. Look, we'll see what happens. So the common denominator between the four of us and Josh when he comes is, well, there's probably a few, but Fitr is probably the main one. The reason that we're here, I guess. So for anyone that doesn't know, Fitr is basically a back end. They prop up the coaches and help them engage their community. They help them get their workouts out, their programming out. They help them engage their community, communicate with their community. They have neat little features. They brought out their white labeling recently, so you can put, if you have the app, the Fitr app on your phone, you can change it. And I'm saying it to you guys as if you're like, what? This is brand new information, but it's more so for the people that are watching. But you can change the app to your own logo. So like Emma will have the grind logo as her logo. Underdogs have like the little underdog's paw as their little app logo. No Shortcuts can have no shortcuts. If you're a coach with 3 clients, you can have your own logo up. Which I think is really cool. It's probably my favorite thing that they do. I'd say, I'm assuming there's better, like you guys are like, couldn't give a shit about that. Like there's so much neat stuff that they do that make my job way easier. I don't really care about the pictures and stuff. But for me as a consumer, I'm like, oh, look, I'm part of it and I belong and it's there. Emma, I wanted to start with you because of everyone here. You've known Fitr the longest and you've been involved the longest. What made you want to start programming in the first place? Like, is it a case that you had worked with someone and were like, oh shit, I can help people the way that person helped me? Is it a case that like people were bothering you, like pestering you, asking you to program for them? Or like, what spawned the idea in the first place?
I changed gyms back in 2017, and there was a couple of people in the gym just on different programs, and I kind of just seen, I was like, Flip, you've got some serious holes in your game and you could be a lot better. And I was like, do you want me to try and coach you for a year and we'll see if we can do anything with it? And if it's shite, well, then sure, I'll just hang up my boots here and there kind of thing. And I kind of brought he'd be one of the longest kind of like CrossFitters in Ireland anyway. It would have been Eamon Kelly at the time. And he was kind of hovering in around sort of top 12 to 15 in Ireland. And in a year, I brought him up to, he placed 3rd in Ireland after a year with me. And I was like, shit. I was like, maybe I'm not too bad at this here. And obviously, like, it took a couple of years of, like, learning how to do it, like different processes, trial and error. And thankfully, a couple of athletes kind of sort of trusted me at the start to trial on them. And thankfully, they've had some great success. And then obviously just learning from obviously James Jousey and stuff like that there has obviously helped develop me as a coach.
I'm trying, Andre, what height are you?
What?
What height are you?
I'm 6 foot.
Okay, Kiefer, you're taller, so you can go next. What was it about you that made you want to? Had you an experience? Had you was it engagement with someone, or how did you decide you wanted to do programming?
I think for me, it was like an extension of my own athletic career, because I started out playing college basketball. I had played baseball and other sports growing up. And it was when I realized that I couldn't compete anymore. Strength conditioning was like the next evolution, be like, okay, I can keep helping and coaching these athletes to do things that I still enjoy being invested in, but I'm not necessarily athletic or talented enough to continue to do myself. And so I started with like traditional sport athletes, field sport athletes, court sports. And then CrossFit was just sort of a natural evolution. As I got a little bit older, I got away from working in a collegiate setting to starting to work in like weightlifting and a little bit in gymnastics. And then coming on under Justin gave me the opportunity to sort of groom into the CrossFit space.
Justin grooming people. That's great, isn't it? That's a good line.
Like his nicely groomed head and beard.
Oh, we both went with a different grooming. Okay. Andre, what about you then? What was it? I know from speaking to you before, you're very... what would I call it? Like you're heavily invested in the thinking behind coaching and the thought process behind it. Is that what kind of got you into it?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I've always, like, in the past sports I've been doing, I've always been loving like the geeky side behind it, the progressive models. Like, I played American football before, and I always loved the planning leading up to games, the playbook for defense and special teams and offense. And I always loved the process. And when I started doing CrossFit in the offseason American football, I also started coaching immediately, as I just kind of fell in love with the sport and the culture. And so it just came like hand in hand. I was pushing my own career at the same time as I was learning to coach. And I just wanted to kind of share my passion for it with others. So programming came very natural in that sense.
Emma, when you were coaching back then and programming for people, how did you distribute your, like, were you like sending postcards? Like, what were you doing to get your stuff out?
I think for the first year, I your notes in your phone, and then you can add people. I think that's how I did it for like the first couple of years. And then it was obviously Leon. His brother-in-law went to the same gym that I trained in at the time, CrossFit Berserk, and they obviously seen how I was delivering the program. They were like, you can be our dummy here and trial Fitr. So I think I was like the first ever coach, obviously, to use it. So I had a couple of bumpy rides at the start to losing programming. It was just a mess. But no. Google.
Not anymore. Now it's great.
Like everything. Like, I think I was way back like 5 or 6 years ago at the very, very start. I started on notes on my iPhone.
That's crazy. Andre, when you were coaching, yours was like whiteboard in the affiliate coaching when you started, is that right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was kind of half that, and then we also had actually quite a bit of athletes. Before No Shortcuts training, it was called Trinity, and that was like back in 2015. So yeah.
What was it called? Trinity?
Yeah.
Is that like a play on Trinity?
Basically, yes. Training and Trinity together in one word. Yeah, I was creative back then.
Yeah, I'm glad you've rebranded. It was a solid decision to rebrand. Also, like, okay, Kiefer, your background is nice. I like the little gradient of the tiles and stuff. But I think Emma, I've admired Andre's home space for a long time in his office and stuff. That's about 8 months around now, is it, or coming up on a year you've had it? Is it?
Yeah, I think it's about 8 months.
And Emma's like, fucking hell, it looks incredible.
Yeah,
it's just ridiculous. Can you lift up? Can you show us? Can you give us a little look around there? So this is only completed about a month or so.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I've got my new purple LEDs, so that's what I'm most happy about. I finally only got the remote, so that's me. I'm like, that's complete.
What Nick is saying, that Emma looks comfy, like very comfy. That is one of the biggest couches I've ever seen. One of the biggest. It's one of the biggest like home gyms I've ever seen. It's crazy. Congrats! It's unbelievable. I suppose I was kind of curious, like, you've mentioned, so Andre, you were obviously like CrossFit Louvre was kind of where you started off, and Daniel was there, he owned that, and there was other coaches knocking around and stuff as well. You were kind of an intern, I suppose, is how you started off there. I was kind of curious, I'll get to Ollie, I suppose, in turn, but Andre, I'll start with you. Of when you started Trinity, when you started coaching and programming for people yourself, is it difficult to, say, take inspiration from people and to think, okay, well, this guy did this with me, or this girl did this with me, and I really like that and I really enjoyed it, without just like repackaging it and just, you know what I mean, without just taking what you did and say, well, that worked for me, ergo it'll work for this person as well, just pass it on and pass it off as my own? Like, is it difficult to kind of form your own philosophy while you're also working under someone and learning from them?
Yeah, it probably is a bit difficult. I think it's been a long journey to create our own systems and processes and methods, but they all come from principles that I've learned from many great coaches in the past, and also with my own experience. So I think, eventually we came around to be able to have our own systems. And I think in the beginning, we had to draw a lot of inspiration from the coaches that we had, or the class programming, or the stuff around you. And it was definitely more difficult to come up with like a lot of your own stuff, even though of course you would try. But yeah, I think that just comes with experience. Like when you start learning about more, the underlying principles behind why you do what you do, then you can create your own methods. But in the beginning, I think it took some time to learn the principles. And I think in the beginning, I only knew the methods that, I was presented to from the internet, or from coaches, or from the box.
Is someone watching cartoons in one of the locations? Oh, it's gone now. Someone got caught.
That means it was me. Give me a second. Let me fix it.
Okay, no worries. Emma, I'll go to you. It's stopped now anyway, Kiefer. Emma, I suppose I'm kind of privy to a little bit of your background, as in I kind of feel like I know you the best out of everyone here. And I mean that I know you better than I know the others. Not like, look at me, I'm great, I know Emma. But when you started off, I know that your main focus was like going dark, and like consistently going dark, and like just grinding yourself to get fitter and fitter and fitter, or what you thought was fitter, I guess. Is it difficult when you started off, like say when you look back at your trajectory as a programmer or programming for people? I know I've mentioned to Andre there about kind of repackaging stuff. I'm assuming that the longer you stay in the sport and the longer you stay programming, you can look back at early days programming and be like, oh my God, like what was I thinking programming that for people? Or do you think, is there a consistent thread through your programming that has remained there all the time, regardless of maybe you've learned some new stuff from Jousty that you've started to implement, or maybe you've learned some new stuff from competing that you started to implement?
Yeah, so like whenever you say like going dark, that was me personally. That wasn't how I programmed.
Oh no, I mean I know that. I'm just talking about outside influence, I guess.
Yeah, so just to make sure that's not how my method. That's how I was coached, and in my earlier days, and then I just kind of like burnt out and stuff. So like my biggest thing as a coach is trying to keep people healthy and keep them training for a longer period of time and not reach that burnout. So maybe I might take a slight not softer approach, but maybe not as an aggressive approach as some coaches do. But for me, I know how sad I was whenever I couldn't train. So I'm like, well, I don't want my athletes ever to not be able to train. So I'd rather just fly here. I'd rather just be a little bit conservative than be known for the person that breaks athletes, has multiple athletes under the knife for surgery and stuff like that there. So my big thing is the longevity, keeping athletes healthy and keeping them training.
Kiefer, you were at Invictus originally, is that right? And then you moved down to Vegas.
Yeah, I was at Invictus in Boston. So it was associated as an affiliate, but not necessarily associated with the competitive side of what they're doing in San Diego.
And when you move, like, so when you move affiliate and you move, say when you change mentor, I guess, or when you become part of a new team, is there a big adjustment period there? Is there a big like, well, wait a minute, we used to do, and this isn't the way that I learned whatever?
It's definitely an adjustment, but I think I've always been the person that when I go into a new scenario, kind of like Andre said, like in the beginning, you have to give a chance to absorb what somebody else is doing, because otherwise you're not going to open the door to learning from them. And so in the beginning, I was very much like backseat to Justin, learning the way he does things, giving some input where it was appropriate to. And now, a year or two later, we're at the point where like we have a very mutual relationship. I would say that he would probably say as much as I do that he's been influenced by my methods the way I have by his. But I think if I didn't come out here with the intention of just listening and learning first, that we wouldn't have had that opportunity.
If I was to ask, let's say Emma, if I was to ask you, if someone signed up for one of your programs, what is it that you'd want them to say to you after a month? Like, what are you looking for them? What feedback are you looking for from them? Like, because I guess there's a common misconception, like you kind of alluded to it earlier on, but there's a common misconception in CrossFit that like hard is good and like pain is good and like, oh, I can't walk and I wasn't barely able to finish it and whatever else. Like, what is it you as a programmer would look to and say, oh, this is the golden feedback that I want at the end of the month, the first month or the second month?
I would say it's probably going to be that they're hopefully not in as much pain. Every single session, like I could usually, sometimes I change it, but most times it's like, I call it like bulletproof body. So it's like one section of their training. That's usually like the first thing they do in the of the day. So like I work quite closely with like my physio, from basically she's been with me my whole career, 2015. And she sees common trends within CrossFit. She treats probably every single athlete in Northern Ireland and Ireland. So yeah, it's under movement there now at the moment. So yeah, you have to kind of like mix it up at the minute, because sometimes people will be like, nah, I've seen that before, I'll not do it. So I either go alternate between movement session 1, movement session 2 or whatever, or bulletproof body. But yeah, like the physio sees common trends and she'd be like, okay, I've seen like the shoulder at the minute, we're in talks about how to help like the CrossFit wrist always and stuff like that. So usually I add just 3 exercises, 3 rounds of like 8 to 10 reps or whatever it is, and just try and take like a core exercise, shoulder exercise, hip exercise, and just try and essentially bulletproof the body. We're never gonna like completely bulletproof it, but if we do an upper body, a core, and a lower body every single day, it's going to have an effect over the course of a week, a month, and a year.
Do you always shout your coach's notes?
If you do not put like a capital letter or put it at the top, like people do not take heed. They were like, I died on that workout. It took me 45 minutes or whatever. And you're just like, please don't be a dick. If you need to take longer, just like chill out. Like, some things are for time, some things are for quality.
Andre, what about you? What is it that you'd be looking for somebody to say at the end of a month or the end of a block of training with you, or being involved with No Shortcuts?
I hope they would say that it's been very structured, intentional, progressive, and just easy to understand, essentially. So every block starts with, there's a video link that you see there that takes them to a YouTube channel where there's a 20-minute video or so where I explain in depth the methods and the systems that we're going to be using. There's the different formats that we use and why we use them and how they're structured. And so
Andre, don't do me for copyright on this video, please, for showing this. You're giving me permission by being here.
It's all good. So I think that's the main thing. I want them to feel that it all makes sense and there's a red thread in the program, and it runs in 4-week blocks, but it's essentially built through the 12 months, and so the 4-week blocks are just kind of segments inside of these. We use like 3 different systems currently in all the different themes. We kind of categorize CrossFit into weightlifting, strength, gymnastics, and engine, and each of them has 3 different systems that we scroll through. And the program you have in front of you is the shortest program we have.
Fucking hell! How long does it take you to type up your notes?
I mean, all the what looks like a lot there is that because for all the workouts and all the things, we have 3 levels, and so if you don't master any gymnastic skills, there's progressions for it.
So like say you would do this one, or you would do this one, or you would do this one, basically.
So, exactly. So if you couldn't do the intermediate because of the skill, then there's toes to bar progressions for that.
Okay. Exactly. But even just like this at the top, like that's a fucking novel.
That's only once a week though. Like that's the like.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. It's serious. It's still seriously impressive dedication. Because I guess like we'll get onto that stuff later on. So Kiefer, then what about on underdogs? What do you think would be the aim for underdogs that, as a group of coaches or a group of programmers, what is it that you'd love? What feedback would you love to see in the community section on Fitr or whatever? What would you love to hear coming back?
I think my favorite things to hear that people come over to us and they feel more well prepared, or they have a better understanding of what they're doing than when they started. Because I think that most people that get into CrossFit for the first time at a more competitive level come from just, doing workouts within their classes at their box, or they just pick workouts off the internet. And so they're very much used to this idea of like, okay, if it's hard, I'm getting better. And it doesn't matter what it is, I just need the intensity. And so taking a step back, we're very similar to how Andre programs, where with our competitor programs, you have like distinct skill blocks, conditioning blocks, weightlifting blocks, and coming in and getting a better grasp on the sorts of paces you can hold, or feeling like you're actually getting better at weightlifting instead of just doing in workouts and stuff, is something gratifying for us to feel like, you can tell you're getting better because you see the progression in everything you're doing.
How has Fitr made things easier for you then? Because like I'm kind of still kind of fumbling my way around it and getting used to it and stuff. Emma, obviously you went through all the iterations of like, version 1, version 2, version whatever we're on now, like all the way up. When you look at it now, are you like, oh my God, it's so smooth and so simple compared to what it was at the start?
Okay, it's so much faster now, obviously, because you have all the different like benchmarks and stuff like that there. So it definitely makes life so much easier, and especially having like being able to design your template and be able to pull it across, and the different YouTube videos that you can upload and stuff like that there just makes life so much easier, having that big archive there.
Kiefer, you've obviously used other ones as well. Like, you've used other programs, and like, what is it about Fitr that made underdogs think, okay, yeah, this actually makes sense for us?
I think the biggest thing early was being able to have conversations with somebody like Leon to actually express what we needed and to have answers quickly on those things. Like it's not common to be able to talk to the people that are directly behind the program. And so when you just gain a much better understanding, but you also feel like your suggestions and your voice are heard. So if there's a feature that they didn't have early on, we had a good understanding of like, okay, they're working on that feature for us, or we know how to have a workaround for those things. And so it just made it much easier for us as a business to make the switch, because it wasn't just signing up for some platform that we had no interaction with.
Andre, was Fitr the first platform that you used, or did you use a different one before?
No, I've used a few different ones before. I've used TrueCoach and Training Peaks before. Training Peaks is a little bit less known in the CrossFit scene. It's more like for triathletes, but also worked pretty well, but difficult to scale it on that platform. So yeah, I found like Fitr was the perfect like in-betweener between TrueCoach and Training Peaks, as it's like very simple, very minimalistic layout that allows just for just a smooth and easy overview for the client and the programmer. So for us, it was a big difference, because it just made everything much easier, automated payments. It was a lot easier for us to create a community, which I think improved the client retention a lot more. We have like the leaderboard function. The community chat is like super active on the program as well, like clients sharing experiences and videos. It's nice. It builds that kind of like across the world. So for us, and also for not having a website, like instead of having to pay a fortune to build a cool website, we've just found that websites are a little bit outdated. They're great for like data extraction in terms of like who sees your page and stuff, but Fitr just created a really nice like platform for it. We didn't have to have a website. It was clear we could get what we wanted on the landing page. The programs and everything you could purchase a program in 10 seconds. So that's been really cool.
Yeah, I've purchased many programs and done fuck all with them, Andre, so I know exactly what you're talking about. It only takes 10 seconds. But obviously all of you guys have, so there's different tracks, I guess. So Emma, you've got 4 or 5 different tracks from your I guess semifinals, games, aspiration athletes that you're coaching, all the way down to people who maybe want to do a little bit extra in their affiliate, or maybe have like 30 minutes a day or whatever it is. And then you also got your little workshops where you might do like a handstand workshop, a block of work, or a specific block of work, I guess. And in underdogs, I know you've got different tracks as well. And Andre, you've got, I was showing the power hour there is just different from your compete track or whatever. when you're setting up that, because I know that the thing about CrossFit is it's kind of infinitely scalable. And, Andre, you were showing there on yours how if you can't do toes to bar, you can do this. If you can't do that, you can do this. And I know you other guys, you have it as well, where there's different progressions and different scaling options, I suppose. And I know that the kind of the mantra is that you program for the best and scale for the rest. And that seems to be, that's the kind of general advice that's given across CrossFit, is that you program muscle ups and you offer scaling options to people who need it, I guess. But I suppose when you're doing all these different tracks at once, and you're maybe focusing on someone who's going to semifinals, and then you're looking at someone who has half an hour. I mean, you can talk about scaling, but there's a gulf. There's a gulf there between those two people. How challenging is it, Emma? If you want to start, like, how challenging is it to actually sit down and think, okay, here's what someone of my capability or aiming to be at my capability will be able to do, or should be aiming to do, and then to put yourself in the shoes of, say, someone like me who has like 2 kids and maybe can break out 40 minutes to get something in quick. Like, how difficult, like, is it a struggle to put yourself in those in that other person's shoes when you're so focused on competing yourself, first of all? And then second of all, do you try and keep a thread running between all your programs, say, linearly across the season, or do you treat all of them as totally separate entities?
Yeah, so we're in the middle of just like rebranding at the moment. But basically, like, the comp program. I don't offer any scales. If you want to be a competitor, that's the program you follow. And then I've got like the everyday program, which is for everyday athletes. So then that offers all the scales. So I kind of like to try and just, your competitor, that's what you're competing. You can't scale or bring muscle up on the competition floor, so I'm not giving you a scale now. But if you want to do the everyday program, well, then that will offer every single scale you'll need, and obviously progressively build you, hopefully, into maybe doing RX workouts. And then, like, again, it's called like the supplement program, which is like half the volume of the competition program. So if some people obviously want to follow the competition trend, but still want to dabble in a class or two, well, then that's like half is what I offer then to them. And again, that has the scaling options. Which then most people then will progress into the competition program based off that. And then, like, the biggest one for me is like the semi-personalized. So anyone that has followed the competition program but then needs the extras, or works around, or has to work around like work life, children, travel, etc., then they'll jump on that, and then that's where it then gets just a wee bit more personal to them. And then that's where I think about, okay, this dude has 45 minutes but wants to still be a competitor. Well, then that's where we start to like tailor things in for you.
And do you try and keep a thread running through all of those, as in, like, okay, we're like, do you say, like, are your blocks similar? I know there'd be a big difference in workload, but are you working on, this month we're all going to work on our engine and our endurance workouts, or do you treat them as separate entities?
Yeah, so more so like the comp program and the supplement kind of run together in the same theme, because there's quite a lot of people that obviously can't do 2 sessions a day. They just want to do the 1 session, but they all want to train together. So I kind of just took that feedback on board and have kept them on the same path. The everyday is going to be completely different now going forward. It will hopefully launch now next month. So then it's just going to be completely separate. We're going to rebrand it, and it's going to be like, I think Anya's working on it at the minute, but it's going to be like something like TDG 75. So we want you to try and be able to be in and out of the gym in 75 minutes. And then that's going to we're going to change that up a little bit. So it's going to be its own separate path now, basically starting from next month onwards.
That's cool. Kiefer, do you try to mimic what the competitors are doing with, say, the everyday underdogs?
Not with the everyday underdogs. We sort of separated things out where we have an elite competitors program, an RX competitors program, and then the everyday underdog, where the elite program is very similar to what like our in-house elite athletes are doing. The overall intention is like peaking for the semifinal stage of the year. And then the RX program is a step below that, where we're basically not quite making the assumption that you have the same capacity on high skill gymnastics or that you're quite as strong. And so it's a little more developmental based. and it peaks more for the quarterfinal stage. And it has additional pieces like, okay, if you don't have ring muscle ups, well, here's a specific skill section that you can add into your program. Or if you're not strong enough, like here's an additional strength block for you to add in. Everyday Underdog program is much more kind of like that, bridging the gap between somebody that's just going to class and somebody that's digging into competitive work, where it's 60 to 75 minutes, just like she's talking about. And it has probably more intentional progression than like your regular daily class WOD, but not so much structure that it's trying to force you into being like a competitive athlete. It's still in the sort of the fun realm where it's just cyclical over time.
Yeah, fun. Andre, I was curious, is affiliate programming something that you do or something that you would want to do?
It is something that we have considered doing. We have a lot of requests for that, but I haven't been coaching in a gym for some time. Our goal is to open a large CrossFit facility further down the road, where we'll be offering like regular classes as well as competition classes for people that actually follow the program. But so for that reason, I've decided not to go that route yet with affiliate programming, just because I don't feel as in touch with it currently. And I also think we wanted to really streamline what we do and what we deliver, and that's competitive programming. It's for people that wish to compete. So it can be at all levels. Like in Denmark, we have competitions almost every other weekend for people that train, 60 minutes a day, 5 days a week. And the way we distinguish our programs is by time. So we have a 60-minute program. That's the Power Hour program. We have our Compete program, which is 90 to 120 minutes. And then we have our Podium Chaser program, which is the same main session as the Compete program, but then it has an extra morning session. So it's a 2-a-day program. And that's the program I do. But like you saw, there's 3 scales for every piece. So where it makes sense, if you were to follow the program, well, then you wouldn't have ring muscle up mixed in a workout. You would have them isolated, working on the skill, or the next level would then be working a light interference, whereas elite would be, having heavy interference. So we tried to streamline all tracks so they all look like each other, but they vary depending on the time available.
What about the daily grind? Is affiliate programming on the cards there or no?
Not at the moment, no.
Do you do all the programming yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then if you do an affiliate on top and we're competing, I mean, that's a shit ton of work. Like that's a serious workload.
No, it's kind of the same as like Andrea. I don't know. David wants to open an affiliate. I don't want to open an affiliate. So
where would you put it? I mean, God, if you were to try and, you'd really need a state of the art. Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't want an affiliate. I'm too precious. It wouldn't be here anyway. That's a fact. This is my gym. So no, we would have to build another facility or buy somewhere. So yeah, and probably that would be the next step, but that would be post competing.
Kiefer, how long is a block of training with Underdogs?
It depends a little bit on the time of the year, but most of our blocks are between 8 and 12 weeks long. And then we'll have like a chunk within that. So a 12-week block might be like 3-4 week blocks within it, but with a progressive intention over time.
Hey, Josh, how are you?
Hey, so sorry I'm late, guys. Appreciate it.
That's all right. That's okay. Will is trash talking to you already. You've just arrived and he's already cheating like a piece of shit. That's great. Thanks, Will. Thanks for coming, Josh. Appreciate you coming on. We were just I was just asking Kiefer how long a block is for his for Underdogs. I was curious, Kiefer, when so if you have your block, then how far out do you plan? So obviously what's coming. Like when you're putting out the first day of the block, what's at the end. Like what where the arc is headed or whatever. But are you like the next block ahead? Are you 5 blocks ahead? Have you the whole year planned out? Like where do you go from?
I would say we have an idea of what the whole season looks like, or like what we want to progress to over the course of the year. And so we maintain some sort of skeleton for all of those blocks, but we really only specifically detail out the block that we're in at a time, because I think we found in the past when we got too far ahead of ourselves, things started to change, and then we would have to change the programming anyway, whether that's because we started to see new skills coming up or something happened in competition that we got information from that we want to change the way we do things a little bit, like the feedback we get from athletes. So a skeleton for the whole year, but really looking at it like that 12-week block at a time to dig in.
Josh, I could ask you like 12 questions in a row, but I feel like it might be a bit intimidating for you and a bit boring for everyone else. One of the key things I wanted to touch on with all of you was, I guess, if you have an athlete sign up to Josh Bridges training, and you're talking to them 2 months later, like what is it? Well, what's the golden feedback for you? Like, what's the thing that you think like, yeah, okay, that's perfect. Like, what are you looking to hear from people?
For me, my military program is my big, product, I guess. Not so much a competitor realm. I don't know if people just don't believe in me as a competitor or what, but what I did, but that's fine, man. I love programming for people who want to go into the military or any job that I guess requires you to be physically fit. So firefighter, police, military, any selection. So for me, like 2 months, if they're telling me, hey, they're seeing progress, they're seeing their run times come down, they're feeling better, they're feeling stronger, that's the main focus for us. I get so many people telling me, which selection they're going through. And so try to help them along the way, because the program is just a blanket program. It's not specifically for any certain one. It's basically how I was training for SEALs. And so the SEAL training. And so yeah, after 2 months, if they're telling me, hey, they're seeing the right progress, their run times are coming down, their push-ups, pull-ups are feeling better, their legs are staying strong. That's the thing that I think a lot of people get caught up on, is their upper body strength rate, how many push-ups, how many pull-ups, where really in reality, it's how strong are your legs. And so we do a lot of, I guess I'd call power endurance, right? So 20 rep max back squats, a lot of front squatting, a lot of lunges. So things like that. And if people are telling me, hey, they're feeling stronger in their legs, that typically bleeds over into their mentality, right? Because when I was going through training, the first thing I saw was everyone's legs break down. And then once their legs break down, they mentally break.
Yeah, I'm definitely in that category. Give me 20 seconds. I was the reason I have all these people on, Kenneth, is because of Fitr. So Josh, Fitr, then you're a recent sign up to Fitr. The last couple of months you've joined up. What was it about Fitr that made you think like, okay, yeah, this is actually going to make life easier, or this is better for what I'm trying to do?
Yeah, one of our biggest people complaints, I guess you could say, was people were like, hey, we don't like, that there's not an app for the program, right? They had to go to the website. You could go through it on your phone, but it was just a website that you had to go to, and we were having some issues with it, like most websites do, and there was some glitching, and just wasn't as convenient as an app, right? Pressing the button and having that so accessible. So that was a big reason for going to Fitr. And once we knew it could be a white label, right, where it actually has the JB logo, people loved it. So I've been stoked on it. It's been such a great experience for us so far. We've had Jay Birch, my man right there, always on, baby. I love it. Yeah, so it's been a phenomenal experience, and it's been a great fit. And so loved it.
When I look at your programming, Josh, and like, I think there's a certain like level of FOMO I get of basically from all of you, really. So like there's kind of, I guess it's intentional, I suppose, but there's kind of that like pack mentality with underdogs, where like, there's the apparel, there's the global kind of span of the brand, I guess, and the community. With the daily grind, I'm looking at maybe it's because I follow so many of the Irish athletes, but I'm looking at them thinking like, oh, they're all doing the same thing and they're all involved together. And then with No Shortcuts, there's like the team aspect this year, I guess, going for the affiliate cup, and then there's the documentaries that are going with that, there's the branding, there's like and then with Josh's stuff, there's the the pay him hashtag that's been around for a few years now, there's the the kind of, you know, you mentioned that Jeff is on commenting and that he always is, like there is that like
always
almost
Jay,
like cultish mentality about
Jay Birch is my man.
it's the classic like CrossFit cult kind of thing. I was curious with one of the things with Fitr, I guess, that Andre mentioned and that Kiefer mentioned is the community and how active it is and how the conversation kind of flows. And you know, like there's I could open up one of the conversations there and there'd be someone asking a question or someone saying like, fuck me, that was awful, or whatever about the most recent workout or whatever. Is that kind of thing, that FOMO, that like that you want people to want in and that you want people to want to be involved, is that something that you consciously cultivate, or is it something that just kind of naturally happens with, I guess, the better your product is and the better your engagement with people is, it's just going to naturally occur? So I guess, Josh, as you've been around the sport the longest, maybe you could hit that first. Is that something that you've considered and thought about actually doing, or is it something that you've just been like, oh shit, this has happened, let's keep it rolling?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I consciously have been like, hey, I want people to feel like fear missing out on my programming, but I do think that a lot of people will delay setting goals for themselves. And I feel like that is something I do hit on, right? Where I'm like, hey, so many people are going to tell you if you come up with some wild wazoo goal that you're not going to be able to hit it. Like so many people are going to try to hold you back from reaching goals. And I'm like, don't wait. Don't like, fuck, excuse my language, but fuck those people. You know, I had them my entire life. If I would have listened to the majority of people that I said, hey, I'm going to go be a Navy SEAL. Hey, I'm going to go try to win the CrossFit Games. Like if I would have listened to anybody, I would still be sitting at a desk being a loan officer, you know, selling mortgages and hating my life every single day. But, you know, so it is something I hit on a lot, is just having that mentality. I'd rather, as cliche as it sounds, I'd rather shoot for the stars and hit the clouds than, you know, not give it a shot and just sit back and say, oh, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have done that. Mm-hmm. And so it is something I do touch on pretty often, is, you know, stop letting other people dictate what your capabilities are. You know, go push yourself, find your limitations. I mean, I'm no longer competing, but I still daily go into the gym and I have goals for myself, and I try to push myself to my limits still. I mean, just because it's addicting. It's something that I crave. And if I don't get it, I become a terrible person to be around.
A more terrible person to be around.
Yeah, exactly.
Emma, with yours then, is the branding and that kind of stuff, like, can you be a programmer or a successful coach or a successful programmer now, as in scale out what you're doing or scale up what you're doing, without that? Do you think, like, is it possible to coach and to reach people and to engage people and to bring on more people onto your programming without having like either an athletic presence, a social media presence, your brand having a social media presence, that kind of stuff? Like, do you think that that's just part of the job now?
Unfortunately, yeah. It's not the side I like, but I hate it. Like, probably when I quit as an athlete, I'll be off Instagram. It's not the part that I enjoy at all. I just would rather the old school word of mouth is the best method. But yeah, unfortunately, that's just the new era we live in. Like I have someone that looks after my daily grind, social media. I don't enjoy doing it. So I have a girl that looks after it. And again, she's the one's like, right, we need to rebrand, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, let's run with it. You tell me what I need to do. This isn't my market. I'm an athlete. I love programming. I love seeing doing the process, seeing people like obviously improve. I don't enjoy having to do the marketing side of things, selling a product. I would much rather my athletes sell the product for me in terms of just they get results. But yeah, unfortunately, that's the world we're in now.
Josh, is that a hot drink or a cold drink?
It's cold. It's just water right now.
I was like, fucking hell, this guy's a psycho. He's after drinking like a liter of coffee in one go.
No.
You should have been like, it's a black coffee. It's like piping hot. Andre, when you moved, built your kind of your affiliate there at your house and your office at your house and stuff, I remember we chatted a little bit back then, and I was very impressed with like how bougie it was and how, like, you know, sleek and everything it was. Is that like what Emma's talking about there? Is that something that you're aware of as, you need to have a brand and you need to package your product effectively. Nowadays you can't just be like waiting, I guess, when people say, hey, have you heard Andre's taking on clients or taking on athletes and he's pretty good? That you can't really wait for that anymore.
No, definitely. I think the branding and is really, really important. And I think like MSS, if you're an athlete and you love programming and you're a coach and you love coaching, the branding and the marketing side of things is maybe not, where your heart is. But I've found to be motivated to, dig into that, because it is what's gonna get our brand name out there, and so we can get more people a part of our community. So we have been hiring, like we have outsourced certain like branding. We've had like a brand expert from Australia help us build our brand and our media, our like presence on social.
Mecon Creative, is it? Or
yeah,
he's good.
Yeah, he's really good. So that's helped us a lot. I think that was like one of the first steps in building the business, was to dial those things in. And yeah, I don't think it comes easy to get your brand out there. Obviously, like athletic presence help, but you would love that if it was just the programming that did all the work, right? So I think what we try to do a lot is like training camps and stuff like that, where we get to get more presence. But I think the next step is to like get into more like paid advertisement, because it is just so difficult to get through when there's like 1,000 programs out there, and you want to tell your brand story, and it's difficult to hit through. And I also think that Instagram and social media is built around, like, if you want to get to the right people, you have to pay. Like, they know who your audience is, and I think purposely they're not going to show it to them unless you pay them.
Yeah,
So,
you're so cynical, Andre. You're so cynical. Winning the affiliate cup will probably go a long way to getting your brand out there and getting your name out there. So maybe just do that this year. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Kiefer, with underdogs, then the one of the interesting things, I had a conversation with John Singleton recently, who owns the program, and he was saying that it is difficult as a coach or as a programmer to make enough noise to be heard above all the noise. So that, like, especially in CrossFit, there are so many offerings of coaching, programming. Like, ours is the best, ours does this, ours does that. No, they're talking shit. Ours is the best because ours does the same thing that theirs does, but it does it a little bit differently or a little bit better, or all conditioning is where it is, or no, fuck that, it's gymnastics, or everyone has a different focus. And I guess when you're a CrossFit, someone doing CrossFit or someone doing any kind of functional training, all it takes is one workout to make you feel like shit about something that you're doing. Be like, oh man, my pull-ups are gone to shit, I need to work on my pull-ups or whatever. And then that's going to become your sole focus. But then, like Josh is saying, you'll neglect your legs, or you know what I mean? That you constantly have all these like flashy things around you telling you to do this, do that, and you need to join this and you need to join that. Is it difficult as a brand, and as, I guess, one of the more recent training camps that's starting up and programming that's being offered and scaling out your offerings, is it hard to be heard above the noise? Is it hard to get your product into the palms of people like Andre's talking about?
Yeah, it's super hard. I think it's part of it is super hard because as coaches, we want to say stuff like, oh, like, my programming is really well thought out. Like, we have a lot of success with our athletes, but the reality is that the consumers don't, like, the athletes signing up for the program don't know that. They don't know the difference between what you say is good and somebody else says is good. And so it comes much more down to like, who's having recent success. It's the battle of like, what have you done for me lately? Right. And so as a brand that's largely driven by coaches, as opposed to other brands that might be driven by an athlete, specifically an athlete that's like had massive success, like a Hard Work Pays Off or a Mayhem or a Proven or something, it can be really hard to be seen because, just like John has said, John Singleton's been around forever and he's had tons of success, but has he had that success recently, or has he had an athlete on the podium or winning that can compete with something like what, Matt is able to say because of the success that he's had and the success he's having with his brand. So I think it's tough as coaches because you can only defend your programming so much, right? And it's not to say other programs aren't great, that every program has a ton to offer. And so I think at the end of the day, it comes down to creating a brand identity that people can align with really well, so that the people that want to follow your program will follow you, because that's the only thing that you can really rely on at the end.
Emma, when it comes to like what Kiefer kind of mentioned there, is that there's these other programs are popping up and stuff, and they might have success, and you know, something good might happen, or the sport might change, or you know, with Dave programming it for a competitive side, I suggest with Dave programming it was very different from now with Boz programming it, and there's a different focus, and there's Josh's face, there's a different focus, and a different I guess they seem to be looking for something different, or they seem to be focusing on something slightly different anyway. Is it hard when there are changes around not to just be reactionary and not to like flip-flop constantly and be like, oh fuck, we need to pivot and do this because someone said such and such a type of handstand push-up is coming up, so fuck all that other shit, let's just do this? Is it hard not to just completely flip-flop all the time because the sport is like rapidly changing and growing so much?
Yeah, like it's I actually just had this conversation with my own coach about my own training on Sunday night, and I was like, we're spending 3 times a week trying to learn double crossovers, and my calves are that messed up that my running, it's being impacted. I'm like, are we fucking training for a circus, or are we training to try and make the games again? So I'm like, we need to like kind of like compress the amount of times we're trying to waste energy on learning new skills for potentially it to come up, and keep focusing on what really matters. I need to keep building my engine. I need to keep building this, building that. If my calves are smashed, my ollie lifting is going to be affected, etc., etc. So yeah, I just think like you obviously have to keep developing the skills, but also it needs to be like time managed. For myself personally, I've asked my coach, I was like limit to EMOM and put one skill in like to the EMOM, so you have like 1 minute time cap, move on. And I'm kind of implementing that as well into my own like athletes programmings, because you can get quite like fixated if you start getting like, I got 5 double crossovers the other day, and then I was like, oh, I wonder if I can get 6, wonder if I can get 7. Then I ended up 45 minutes later, I was still trying. I'm like, what am I doing here? So it's like, just compress the time, chip away, learn the skills. But I always think like, as long as you're just like touching things little and often, like it'll always, kind of progress. So, yeah, you can get fixated on it, but I think it's just like, add it into like a skill session or time cap it. But if the body moves well and you're efficient in the movement, usually when your back's up against the wall, you'll figure shit out.
Yeah, for something like that, sorry, I just want to jump in real quick. For something like that, like how I looked at it was, we have about 85% knowledge as a CrossFit Games athlete, knowing what you're going to be what you're going to have to compete and what the skills you're going to need are, right? 15% you have to, I would say 12% you have to fucking rely on athleticism, right? I'm just an athlete and I'm going to rely on that. If they throw something at me that maybe I don't know and that I haven't trained for, I'm athletic enough that I'm going to be able to do it. And then the 3% are these stupid little fucking things like crossovers, which is absolutely insane. So crossovers weren't a thing. Tell
us what you really think, Josh.
How much time you got? But crossovers weren't a thing, but triple unders. Everyone thought that the triple under was coming back in the day for us. And in my head, I was like, I'm not going to waste my time trying to get a triple under. If triple unders come up in the CrossFit Games or regional or wherever in the season, I'm going to take that workout on the chin, because it is what it is. And if I can't, if the CrossFit Games, if it cost me the CrossFit Games because I couldn't do triple unders, then I was just like, I'm okay with it. I had to accept it. I couldn't sit there and wait. Like Emma was saying, I couldn't sit there and waste that amount of time. And as a coach now, I wouldn't allow my athletes to waste that amount of time for one skill like that. Like that is just, and it shouldn't be. And that's the thing that I feel like we're programming at the CrossFit Games, and now we're going on to a different subject. It's like, man, like you have to, like that shouldn't be the definition of who the fittest is, right? If you can do if you can move your hands back and forth as you do in a jump rope.
I'll just put this one back up so everyone can see it again. Are we training for a circus or the games?
It was a great quote. Great quote.
Andre, what about you? Obviously, you're similar to Emma. You have the two hats of like you're competing, you're trying to get better yourself, and then there's obviously going to be spillover of that into what your athletes are doing. Are you still programming for yourself?
Yeah, I've been doing
Okay,
that
so
for 3
are
years.
your athletes the podium chasers? Are they like a week behind you, or are they with you?
They're with me. I mean,
Okay.
sometimes I will have like small twist of other stuff depending on like where I'm in the season, and like now with the team we have a little bit different on some of the days, but it's still the same system. But in terms of like the programming and what the CrossFit Games comes up with, I think the way we look at it is just we're just a player who's decided to play the game, and if they say crossover double under is something you need to do, then then we prepare to do so. And I think we've been able to find a way where it doesn't take up a lot of time and space in the programming, and it's something that can be easily incorporated, especially if you have athletes that are training 10 11 sessions a week. It shouldn't be an issue to place it without having it, of course, taking over. So yeah, in terms of like what's changed with the programming, I try not to put any emotions into it, because I actually don't care. If the test is the test, then we've decided to sign up. That's what we're gonna do. And I think I recently retook my level 1, and if you read through that handbook, there's press the handstand, backflips, and a lot of stuff. And if that's the mythology and that's the game, then that's the game we're playing.
I'm picturing you coming back from your level 1 being like, delete everything. we have to start over. Josh, is that one of the perks then of what you're doing? The fact that, you mentioned that you don't have any athletes who are like, Josh, I want to win the games, help me do it. That you've more so got those kind of, I guess, ironically enough, I guess the competitive field that has been dished by CrossFit with the occupational games. You have, they'd be more your bread and butter, I guess, people who are doing those kind of things. Is that maybe a perk of that, the fact that you don't have, like, that there's no pressure on you to be reactionary, because it's it's basically what is your core belief, and then the people that are buying into what you're selling share that core belief or believe in what you're selling.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, I would train someone for the CrossFit Games, and I think I could do a really good job of it. And I have a competitive programming. I don't have any big names using it, and that's fine. I really enjoy programming for military side, for police officers, for law enforcement, because I think those men and women are out there putting themselves on the line. It has a lot more. There's a lot more behind that than not making it to the CrossFit Games, or not making it to regionals, or not being able to do a cable crossover. There's a lot more to it than that, right? Like, these people are putting their lives on the line. And so I'm going to try to give them the best product that I can, that know that like when shit goes bad, they're going to be all right. Right. Because I've pushed them mentally and physically in a different scenario to where, they at least know that their legs are going to be there when they need them. And, it's not nearly as reactionary as the CrossFit Games, where you're like, oh shit, a new skill just popped up. We need to be training for that, or how did I miss this, or how did I miss that? Right. It's a very simple structure that I've come up with, and it's how I trained myself before I was going in. So
you should coach people who are trying to join the Irish version of the police, like the guards, because the fitness test is like one of the shittest things. it's so laughably shit. Like, it's like 20 sit-ups. It's like,
well, I mean, no, like most of those first initial tests are so low ball. It's even the SEAL test is like it's a 1.5 miles in like 12 minutes. It's, I think, 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, and then like 8 pull-ups. That's your little, like, it, like, that has zero bearing on if you're going to make it as a SEAL or not, but that is the initial test that you have to take to pass. So that doesn't mean it's not good training. It's just, they have to have something, to make it, to give it some sort of physical challenge, I guess, to get in. But yeah, like this, like if you crush, it's called our PST test. If you crush that, it doesn't mean anything. It's zero bearing on if you're going to make it through or not.
Yeah. Kiefer, Have you ever, so obviously with Fitr, one of the things that Fitr has is that they have a huge raft of, I just saw Leon put his picture in his story earlier on of they're getting new t-shirts made and all the logos are on the back of, it barely fits like the amount of big name logos that are on the back. Have you ever been tempted, or have you ever like done a free trial with a rival company just to be like, I wonder what they're doing, like what's their block look like this week?
I used to, when I was younger and when I was just getting into the CrossFit side of the space, I would sign up for every program just to like learn more and see what people are doing. But at this point, I try not to, because I think it becomes less about learning secrets from other people. It's more about just clouding your own judgment of like, it's easy to look at other people's programs and start to question if what you're doing is right, when the reality is there's just a lot of different ways to do things well, and somebody doing it differently doesn't mean that your way is bad. And so I think I stay out of trouble more by staying away from it than I would by looking.
What about you, Emma? Have you ever been tempted to be like, I'll just see what someone else is doing there, I'll just sign up and have a quick peek, I'll do a 7-day trial and just see what they're offering?
To be honest, no, I just don't have time. That's just being truthful. I'd probably, like, again, whenever I stop being like an athlete, there's more time, I'll probably just have like a browse and a look and see what people are at. But at the moment, like between like what I'm doing, what like I'm learning from James, my coach, like I'm quite happy with where the path's going. But yeah, definitely, like as Kiefer said, like it is good to have a browse, see what other people are doing. Like there's always one or two things that you'll say, oh flip, that's actually quite a nice little activation session, or that's a nice way to put the conditioning or something. And then you can put your own twist onto it. And it's the same with other, like, DT intervals or whatever. You'll see something that a coach has done and then you'll spin your twist on it. So yeah, it does serve a purpose, but at the time I just don't have time to start browsing and looking, to be honest.
Kiefer, you're doing weightlifting now. You're kind of getting pretty big into that, isn't that right?
I'm just trying to keep myself busy. I make myself feel bad if I start doing too much CrossFit around my athletes. So weightlifting keeps me just separate enough from them.
Yeah, you're like, it's different. We're doing two different things. Yeah, we don't have to be the same. I was curious, when you're doing something like that, and say, I guess as the season progresses, maybe Andre and Emma can come in as well with, well, and Andre obviously can't come in. Emma, you can come in as well with when the season progresses and, you get into summer and you're obviously looking at the games and you're thinking about swimming needs to be done and cycling and all those kind of things are coming into your realm. I guess the more predictable or unpredictable elements of the games, like stuff that probably should be doing. And Kiefer, with your weightlifting, is there, like, do you ever feel like you're like, man, I fucking really love weightlifting, I really love snatching, I'm big into snatches a minute, I'm going to make everyone do loads of snatches so everyone can feel as good as I feel? Or so, I've got this sudden belief in fucking pigeon stretch, it really fixed my back, I'm going to make everyone do this for weeks. Like, is it hard not to let that kind of thing spill into what you're feeding to other people, that something that makes you feel good or that you enjoy doing, and then you just become obsessed with it and be like, everyone needs to listen to this album that I just found, and then you just play it all the time?
I think it's probably normal to coach with your own biases in mind. Like if a coach comes from a weightlifting background, or a coach comes from a gymnastics background or an endurance background, it's probably not hard to find those remnants in their programming. Like if somebody was a gymnast, then you might see different or more drills for gymnastics building into things, whereas somebody else that comes from a different background might just have like a basic imam of ring muscle ups or something without that little extra zhuzh on it. So for me, like, I think weightlifting is the one that I've known the longest, so I probably have the most troubleshooting for it. But I really choose weightlifting for myself because it separates me more, because I'm still so fucking competitive that if I tried to do too much CrossFit with them, I'd be like, no, I'm gonna beat their time today, I swear I'm going to. And this just pushes me away.
Yeah, it's like, where's Kiefer today? He tried to beat someone's time yesterday. You won't see him till Monday. Emma, what about you then? When the season progresses and like outside swimming, I saw you. Did you do an outside swim last week, or did you talk about that there was something? I think I saw something in your stories about that you were considering going outside or something. Or
I was in Club La Santa, so the swimming pool is outside. But no, it was just swimming outside in the swimming pool.
When you start getting towards that other stuff though, heading for the lake and, you know, like thinking about kayaking or, you know, swimming, open water swimming, paddleboarding, that kind of stuff, do you have to stop yourself? Are you like, oh look, the everyday people won't give a shit about going paddleboarding, so there's no point? Like, do you have to kind of pull back a little bit on what your current interests are and what you're currently engaging with?
Yeah, like I believe, like, well, obviously, like I'm one of the only females or athletes in Ireland that's made the games, so it's like I don't program. None of my athletes do what I do because like they're not essentially on that level yet. So I'm not going to say, right, you're going to go for a 50-mile cycle, then a 10K run on a 1 mile open water swim into a 3K kayak, because that's not possible for most everyday people to have 6 hours in the day essentially to do that. I don't do that either, but just an example. But you know, like the kind of level of athletes that's like on the daily grind at the minute is very much like Irish, UK based, and kind of looking to compete at the likes of, you know, like strength and depth masters or Irish fitness championships. It's kind of like lower level competition. So I kind of like make sure that the program's to kind of that level. And obviously I have got like masters games athletes, etc. But they're on more like the semi-individualized, personalized programming. So then we can start tailoring it to them. But no, I don't take what I have done and give it to them, because it's taken me like 9 years to build up the volume and the capacity to do what I'm doing.
When it comes to scaling up then, so I guess that's one of the common things I heard about from talking to coaches in Miami and stuff who have been using Fitr. One of the things that they talked about is how easy it made just scaling out what you're doing and like giving it to a huge number of people, rather than like Josh was saying or Andre said at the start, where you're kind of relying on a website and then the website crashes or it's shit or it's clunky or people have to go there and get it. It's a lot easier to get people's eye sockets on it, I guess. Has there been any aspect of it that's like surprised you? I guess Josh, we'll start with you, where, you know, like when you initially said, okay, I'm going to start selling my programming, or I'm going to design programming and sell it, is there any trepidation there? Are you like, fuck, what if like people don't want it, or what if people don't care, or what if nobody buys it, or what if nobody does it? And then once you started selling it, was there ever a period where you were like, shit, like this is kind of hard to keep up, like, or it's hard to maybe keep one block different from the next block and think that far ahead, and, you know, like plan it effectively so it's not repetitive, or it's not boring, or it's not like I was saying earlier on, totally flip-flopping left and right and people don't know what to expect?
Yeah, there's definitely all of those things. I think the first part that you're saying was like, was there any nervousness of people not wanting to get it? Of course, you know, like anything that when you make it, I feel like when you start making it to higher level things in your careers, whatever it is, say it's the Navy, you go to the Navy SEALs, CrossFit, go to the CrossFit Games, you know, doing really well there. Like anything that I want to do, I want to be the best at. Right. So it's like, I don't want to fail. I mean, I don't think anybody really does, but no, I hate failing. And so, yes, there was that, like, shit, will anybody want to buy this program? Will anybody even really care? Will they believe in me? Will they put their trust that I'm going to offer them and steer them in the right direction to get them towards their goals? All of those thoughts, you know, constantly enter your brain. And, you know, I think it's a daily struggle. I think there's still times where I'm like, shit, is this right? And then that's why I test most of the workouts. And then I'm like, okay, that was right, but I should have done it this way. And that would have been a better stimulus. And then I have to think about it. Okay, so I'm still at a higher fitness level than most. And so I have to now scale it down to people who don't have this skill level, and how are they going to feel? And then you're thinking about, you know, the rest of the week, the rest of the month. And it's all a struggle to make sure that you're doing it right, you know. And I think with Fitr, having that so quick, easy chat accessible to those people, being able to discuss things and being able to give them quick little tips, I guess, for certain workouts has been huge. Like I typically put like an intentions workout, right? Because I don't know each individual skill level, right? But I have them this blanket program where I give them the weight that I think is appropriate, and then I give them a percentage so in case they, that weight isn't appropriate for those certain people, so I give them a percentage. But then I'm also like, hey, this is the intention of this workout. This is the stimulus you're trying to find. So pick the correct weight. I have to, it has to come back to the athlete a little bit where it's like, hey, you have to pick the correct weight. Like, I'm not there for you. I'm not technically your coach. I'm more your programmer. And so Fitr, with having that little quick chat, being able to upload videos where you have intentions, it makes it so much easier as opposed to, the website where it was so hard to communicate with your athletes.
Emma was saying at the start she has to all caps her intentions at the start of the workout, because she was like, people just skip across it. So there's a top tip from McQuaid: train for the circus and shout your coaching or your programming intention at the start, so people actually pay attention to it. Although that's only going to work for a certain amount of time, though, Emma. Eventually people will be like, just skip the shouty bit and move on. Just skip the big letters.
Added in like the messages and the little community thing. They add it into the Facebook group. It kind of keeps going.
yeah, just a t-shirt, a billboard, like, anyway, a plane flying across their home gym telling you slow down. I think, like, it's kind of hard. It's really hard not to just talk about not programming as well, like, because I think it's rare to have 4 people who are so obsessive about something, either themselves as a competitor or like something that they're doing, or else helping other people to compete. Like, you're all fucking crazy, like really, really crazy. Like, and it's something that I think every week when I talk to someone who's involved in the sport or who's a high level competitor or a high level coach, and like, it's admirable. Like, I mean it as a compliment, but you guys are fucking nuts. Mm-hmm. Like, it's crazy. Okay, I know she said I don't do that, but like the workout there, that was essentially an adventure race that Emma listed off there, of the run, the cycle, whatever else. But like, I have seen the competitive programming for, like, I've seen the programming that all you guys offer for competitors, and it's like, it's fucking mind blowing. Just the level of the amount of time that you guys have put in to get to either the coaching level that you're at or the athletic level that you're at. I'm not saying you're not athletic, Kiefer, you are athletic, but just like for your actual job. But like the amount of time that you guys have put in to get to where you're writing something down and saying, yeah, that's fine. And like, I'm looking at it being like, what? Like, people actually do this in like 1 24-hour window like this. They walk into the gym, they do this, and they walk out. That's not physically possible. And then also the brands and the communities that you guys have built up while working and competing and training. Like, it genuinely it's just bizarre. Like, you're all so fucking weird. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, it's crazy. Kiefer, how long would you say you spend like on a laptop or on like Fitr or whatever document you use before uploading it? Like, how long does it take you to program like what you're doing?
God, I don't even know. Honestly, I try not to keep track of it. But I think between
do you have like a window? Do you say like, right, I work 9 to 5? Like, do you have like a time block, or is it like someone's watching Succession and you're like typing away in the background?
What a great show.
That's when my best programs come out.
Josh, I'm obsessed with it at the minute.
No, because I still coach. I coach our in-house athletes in the middle of the day. So usually I'll wake up, I'll do an hour or 2 in the morning, and then I'll come home and I'll try to wrap up at the end of the day. But I don't know. I try to chunk it out, whether it's like a bit of time working on individual clients or a bit of time working on the template cycle, or so that they're all separate parts of my brain or separate time blocks. So a few hours each day here and there. It's I don't know. Like I said, if I start to do the math, then I start to get grumpy about it.
Yeah, you start to look for a raise.
Yeah.
Emma, what about you? Do you exclusively try and keep it to like whatever Thursday or Sunday or whatever day is rest day? Is that how you kind of factor it in?
Yeah. So like, I kind of do my master's, so I just try to do it like on different weeks. So like every Sunday, like I'm working all day. That's like my full rest day. So like I'll do my master's programming like 1 week, then I'll be doing like my comp program the next week. So again, I'm just like separating it out, because obviously masters and individuals is slightly different volume and stuff. So just to try and keep that separate. So yeah, probably I get like, for me, probably about 15 hours a week kind of thing. So it's probably a lot less than obviously like full-time coaches and stuff. But yeah, it's still quite a lot to be on the laptop for 15 hours.
I'd say it's the type of thing that gets away from you as well, where you're like, oh, I'll just look at such and such thing, and then you start typing, and then you're like, you know, you get in that kind of flow state, or you go off on a tangent, and you're like, oh fuck, I haven't even done what I sat down to. Like I've started 12 things, and I haven't finished the one thing I started to do.
Yeah, I think it's just like sitting down and just like prioritizing, you know, the time. This is what I have to do. This is what I'm getting done today. And like on a Saturday, like a Saturday evening, once I finish training, like I'm already thinking about what I'm doing on Sunday. So you go in on Sunday and you're like, right, this is what I am set out to do. But like every single coach in the world, I've probably got about 40 messages a day with different clients sending over videos, etc. Obviously because I don't get to see them all that often. So if you add up every single text message or video review, like you're doing a hell of a lot more than like what you think you're doing in a day.
Yeah, like I teach, and there is that kind of thing of like there's 20 kids in the room, and like they think that they're the only kid in the room asking a question or saying, and it's like, you know that there's 19 other of you that are also doing this. Like, so I imagine an athlete sending a coach a message. The coach is like, oh, this is the 5th one in the last 5 minutes. Like, this is
but isn't that what makes a great coach? No matter how many times you have to go through the same scenario, it might be that person's first, right? So you have to treat it as such. Like I think that's one of the coolest things, and that's one of the hardest things to do as a coach, right? Just sit there and wait and be like, and be patient with people, because like, fuck, I just went over this fucking 20 times, but this person's first time, you know.
That's remarkable. You've explained what a good coach is, and you've told me I'm a shit teacher all in 5
You're
seconds.
welcome. You're welcome. I'm signing off. I'm going to end on that one. No,
yeah. I just fly off the handle at the second kid that asks. I'm just like, I just fucking told it.
I just said it. Did you hear me? You idiot.
Yeah, I get the first guy to give out to the second guy and tell him, like, shout at him what I said. Andre, are you similar? Emma was saying that she does her rest day is her kind of programming day, and that she separates it out that week. Have you got office hours, like say working hours during the week, that you factor in around your own training, or do you separate your days completely?
Yeah, it's a part of my daily routine, I would say. So I program for like, I think, an average of 3 hours a day. So training 4.5 to 5 hours a day, and then programming to 3 hours. So it's about like an average work day of, you know, total 8.5 hours.
Jeez. Okay. It's intense. One of the things that I've seen you do the last couple of years, Josh, you've done your kind of pay him. I was going to say gatherings, but that sounds a bit weird. What do you call them? You know, the kind of get-togethers.
We call them paying camps.
Paying camp. Yeah, that's better than gathering. Gathering made it sound like you're going.
We can call it a gathering if you'd like. That's fine.
Kind of sounds like you're going for mimosas or something.
We're gonna go walk around and have a margarita or something. Who knows?
What was the logic behind starting to do that? Because I know, like, say, Emma, now you obviously have the capability to start doing that. You've got like a larger space, and then, you know, you've got Rhino in Vegas, and Andre's got his gym in with no shortcuts and stuff. But I'm curious, like, obviously we've talked about Fitr's kind of bonus feature of the community and being able to reach and engage quickly and have that instant messaging with your clients and with your community and stuff. But like, you kind of can't really beat that hands-on, like face-to-face time together for either coaching and like helping people get better and seeing things, spotting things, not needing those video reviews that Emma's talked about, but also like, say, for your brand to be like, oh, I'm involved, I belong to something, I'm here, and like, I guess if you charge, you get money for it too. So that's, you know, like win-win-win. What is it about those kind of face-to-face engagements? Like what is it that made you start to want to bring that in, instead of just being like, oh, look, it's easier for me to just sit here and do it on the laptop, send it, and then, you know, focus on social media and then live my life?
Yeah, for me it was just a cool opportunity because I actually do it at my home in San Diego, right? Where I basically trained for the military, where I trained for my CrossFit games day in and day out. And then I take them to the beach in Coronado where, I did some of my buds training and I did a lot of my CrossFit training there. And then I take them to a trail that like I ran 3 to 4 times a week. And it's just it's a very cool experience. It's a very cool way for me to give back to the community, to my community that, I appreciated so much. I felt like I just had such a great following and I had so many supporters that were just like diehard supporters for me. And it's like, hey, here's a cool opportunity for me. I don't live in this house anymore. But I still own it. I rent it out. And so like we can come, we can bring 20 and actually we make it a small intimate, like it's not like it's not like 50, 100 people, it's like it's 20 people pretty much max. And so it's
Does the person that rents the house off you know who you are?
No,
or are they like, why the fuck is there 20 people like doing devil's press and burpees and whatever?
It's not long-term rentals, it's short-term rentals. So so when we're there, no one else is there.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So it's like Airbnb. And so so it's so cool. It's like they get to come to my house, they get to work out in the gym that I literally trained at and worked out at. And it's just a great way to give back and get face to face with these guys and men and women. And a lot of times it's either younger athletes or older guys who just have been a longtime fan and they want to just come train and pick your brain because we do a lot of Q&As and we just really shoot the shit. We just hang out. It's basically like what I would do on a weekend anyways, and people just get to come hang out and do it with me. And so I'm like, this is awesome. I love it. We've done 3 of them and it's been really fun and it's been a really cool way to give back to my, supporters that have been there for me for so long.
It's just what I do at the weekend. It's like, all right, guys, we're going to wash my truck.
Yeah. Let's fold my shirts. Not like that. You're folding it wrong.
You 3 are going to go and do my groceries. You 3 are going to wash my truck.
Yeah.
Welcome to the community.
Yeah.
Emma, you obviously had your kind of smaller, more we'll call it intimate home gym setup where there was, kind of maybe room for you and one other working and maybe one like tagging in space wise. Now you've got this kind of larger setup, and I know you've had Mickey up there a good bit and you've had Keenan up there a bit, and other members of the Daily Grind have called in as well. How has that changed? Like, have you noticed a change in yourself of like, is there a sense of like more of a sense of community just for you being there and having all those people coming to you?
Oh yeah, like everyone loves like company, but yeah, it's just nice having like more bodies in the room. It's kind of like everything, like the more kind of like-minded people in the room, the more you learn from. Like even just yesterday, whenever we were doing like our warm-up EMOM, Keelan got 28 double crossovers and I was like, what the frick are you doing different to me? But like you learn from the more people you train with, the more you learn from them. And then just like different things, because you have more people here. I just sort of like, I'm now getting like my physio to call in like a Tuesday and a Thursday. And like if clients are here, it's just like, would you just run your eye over her? Or just have we look at that, and then I can kind of tweak the programming. So yeah, it's just having a wee bit like more on-site base, and just have a little bit more like just eyes on. And just, yeah, you're just able to help people that much more. Like obviously the underdogs have that massive community, and with all your athletes on site, like that's like the dream. Just like the more people in the same room together, the better you're going to get.
What about you, Andre? I know you've kind of historically, I always feel like I'm taking a massive risk asking you a question that you're just going to drop, but I'll go for it anyway. When you're historically, you kind of trained isolated and you're on your own, like say the last couple of years, and now you've got you've consistently got your team athletes with you. They basically seem to live there now. How has that changed things for you? Like, have you noticed a change? Have you was it, I guess, were you kind of maybe a bit precious at the start? Were you like, that's my shit, like don't touch my stuff, like why are you standing, that's my spot, you're not allowed to stand there, that's where I always stand when I'm tired or whatever? And like now, have you kind of accepted it more? Are you like, is it making your training more enjoyable, having that kind of shared suffering, I guess, that Emma's talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in team sports, so it's no problem really having people around, and I really enjoy it. So it's been a great change, to be honest. And I feel it's been very, very beneficial. And we have one athlete staying here full time who lives here. And we have like an athlete apartment, and we also have 2 other athletes stay with us 2 days or 3 days of the week. So % of the training days, we're up to like 40 here training, and we also have a lot of like athletes come for training camps and stuff like that. So it's been a great change. And yeah, sorry, my internet sucks. I'm sorry about that.
It's all good. It's all
like
good.
I've there's probably like 3 athletes upstairs right now.
That's the thing. You see, you say like, oh, it's fine being part of a team environment. You need to have 2 separate Wi-Fi passwords. That's what the problem is. You need to have like the E one, whatever the shit, like crappy, like you're not going to be able to watch anything, and then you need to have like the 5G is just for Andre, and he has a separate router, a separate password. That's what you need.
Yeah. Definitely.
I'm conscious of how long we've been. Josh, you only got here, but everyone else has been here for a long time. But I'm conscious of how long we've been on, and I don't want to take up too much of your evening or morning or whatever different stage of the day you're at. I appreciate you all coming on. I appreciate you taking the time out to come and chat. I guess if anyone is a coach or is looking to expand what they're doing, I think it's pretty clear from the conversation that we've had that there's only really one place to go. I think Fitr have proven pretty consistently that they are the best resource out there. And, it's been mentioned a few times, but, they've got their different colorways you can change. So your logo will change, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to turn this into like an advertisement, but you can go and have a look, get.fitr.training if you want to have a look at that. It's because of them that we're all here. It's our shared little thread between us. There's no way I'd ever get Josh on the show without telling me
that's messed up, man. That's fucked up.
But listen, thank you so much. Will wants to know before we go, how many more people does Andre need to sign up for his program to get new Wi-Fi? I think if he gets 5 more a week signing up, he'll be able to afford that 5G, that elusive 5G. But listen, thanks for everyone that was watching, for everyone commenting. Emma and Andre, best of luck with the rest of your season.
Thank you.
Hope everything goes well. I'm sure we'll
luck,
catch
guys.
up between now and then.
Thanks,
Josh, I'll definitely be badgering you to come on again. And Kiefer, it's always good to talk, and good luck with not being competitive in CrossFit around competitive CrossFitters.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it.